Hello, everyone. Today we're discussing one thing that has the potential to have the single biggest impact to your cost of travel. I know many people on very modest incomes who travel the world at a staggering pace thanks to this one thing alone. It's not a couch surfing. It's not traveling on points. It's not even staying with friends or family. We are talking about home swapping. The leader in this area is the website homeexchange.com, which you might have seen in the movie featuring Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet. So for an insider's view, I'm joined by Deanna, a good friend of mine who's taken more than 25 home exchange trips. So Deanna, just thanks for joining me today. I know you're a home exchange ambassador. I attended one of your info sessions that you hosted recently to educate people about home exchange. I was really intrigued with a lot of the things that you had said in that call. So I want to welcome you and thank you for joining me.
Well, you're very welcome. It's nice to chat with you.
I also have a link at the bottom of this interview to sign up to a home exchange membership. And anyone who gets a membership gets 1,300 guest points as a welcome bonus. If you sign up through the link below, you're going to get an extra 250 guest points on top of that, which can get you upwards of about 5 nights. Before we get into all that, how much would you think you've saved over the course of those 25 trips over the years?
Well, a lot. I've never done the actual math, but if you sort of think about the cost of a hotel, even an inexpensive hotel these days, where we live, Russ, as you know, like 150 is a cheap hotel.
Yeah.
And so when we travel, we typically go for a week, perhaps more. And we basically do that every year. So we've done that for 25 years. So you do a bit of math there.
Wow.
That's $20,000 or more, probably way more than that,
Yes.
over 20 years. So yearly, you're saving a couple $1,000s probably.
I presume some people who are doing this are traveling more as a result of it, just in terms of being able to overcome some of the cost barriers. Might you have done a little bit more travel or gone to some places you might not have otherwise?
100% we would have. The first exchange we did was a very long time ago. And we didn't, we were a young family with a couple of kids and we didn't have a lot of cash. But we took our kids to Europe for 3 weeks. And we managed that. So after that, it was sort of game changer for us.
Oh, yeah. Well, traveling with kids, especially staying in hotel rooms and all the difficulties with that. So you were able to not only get accommodations through your membership, but also have probably better fit for purpose or custom tailored accommodations to what you needed.
Yeah, there is a lot of families on home exchange for that very reason. When you travel with kids, it can be it can be not always comfortable for everybody, but when you're in a home, right, you can put the kids to bed, they have a place to play, you can make the meals, so it's brilliant that way.
Phenomenal. And something else that really got my attention, what you had said, is 2 things in particular I appeal to people in terms of home exchanging.
Yeah. Save money or at least spend less, whether that's a save or not, I don't know. But also that other significant piece for us is about the experience that you have.
Yeah.
It is fully immersive kind of experience typically. In many cases, you are exchanging with someone who maybe doesn't live in some tourist city or zone, but it might be in the countryside or in a small village somewhere around the world. And that is a totally different experience. Yeah. When you're shopping at the market and your kids are playing in the park with the other kids from that country. I mean, it's a totally different experience. So yeah, that's for us, that's probably the biggest advantage.
Well, for me, that's really appealing because a lot of vacations, if I'm just staying in a hotel, if I'm in the Las Vegas Strip and I'm eating at restaurants 3 times a day, I do get tired of that. And the expression of getting a vacation from your vacation. But if you've got a home-like environment, you're doing groceries, you've got a house, that sort of fatigue isn't really as much of a factor.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of vacation you're looking for. There are a lot of people on the home exchange site or do this kind of travel where they're looking for long-term exchanges. And so they actually go and live not just vacation or holiday, but live somewhere for a month or 2. And there's a whole group of people that's all they do. They want to come to Canada for a month.
That's a really big trend right now, especially digital nomads and people working remotely, people working from home. It just really cracks it open in terms of affordability and being able to do stuff that might be out of reach otherwise.
Yeah. Once you sign on and you become a member, you have access to this whole world on the site, and you can join groups so that you can find people, like-minded people. So we have joined a group for professional musicians so that we might be able to find
Oh,
a
wow.
house where they might have a piano or a guitar or whatever. But there's a whole group for digital nomads. And it's interesting because those folks travel all the time.
Yeah.
As long as you have, good Wi-Fi, you have a place where they can set up, they'll come for months at a time.
I love it, love it, love it. I didn't know that. I think also for people getting started, there's a common misperception about home exchanging is that you have to exchange your place with someone else's at the exact same time. But home exchanges models really evolved over the years.
Yeah, yeah, that's totally true. So the sort of traditional way, when this started, honestly, I think it was 30 or 40 years ago. I'm not even sure. It's a long time ago. The traditional way was you come to my house, I'll come to yours. And that's what that was. And yeah, all good and lovely. And we actually kind of prefer that, but we don't always do that. So this model has evolved. So if you want to go somewhere, but they don't want to come to your house for whatever reason, timing isn't right, or they just are not interested in Airdrie, Alberta, Canada, which is where I am, you can provide them points that they can use for a similar situation down the road. And over the last maybe 8 or 10 years, it's continued to evolve. And now that's about 85% of the travel, honestly, is
Wow.
that.
Wow. And in terms of where most listings are, you mentioned there's some cities where you'll find listings are much more abundant and there's much more availability than other areas.
I can tell you is that Europe is a hotbed
Yeah.
of exchanges all over Europe, Eastern Europe, France. Paris is where the home exchange headquarters is, and there is a ton of French exchanges. But the UK, all of those places, there's tons. And also, I would say Denmark, Norway, Netherlands, in that space too, tons.
In terms of how far out you should book, what's a rule of thumb there?
It's hard to say. I mean, the thing to remember about this is it's not Airbnb. You don't just find a place, click on it, and say, I'm going to stay there. You're actually asking somebody if you can use their house.
Yeah.
So I always say there's a little bit, like there's some hard work and a lot of magic that goes into this. If you are set on going to a place where everybody in the world wants to go, Rome, as an example,
Yeah.
you're going to probably have to start a year in advance. And you might send out 60 inquiries before you find something. If you want to go to Italy, but Rome doesn't matter as much, you want to go to Italy and you're happy to be in a smaller village out in the mountains or something, you may not have to work quite as hard. So I think a lot of it depends on what your expectation is. Having said that, though, Russ, people do short-term exchanges all the time. And there's actually a button you can say, I want to see all the short-term exchanges, and it'll show you, in your country of choice, as an example, where are the people that would be willing to do short notice exchanges.
Yes.
So I think it just depends.
Yeah. And when you sign up, you get some welcome points, and this is a bonus for people who sign up through this. Then, in addition to that, when people stay at your place, you are accumulating more guest points that you can use in other exchanges. So that's the currency. If you've got a reservation about having people stay in your home, if you have an Airbnb that's vacant and not being used, or even have a cottage or a cabin that you're renting out, you can use that when it's not being used and you're gathering points that you can later use to stay at other places. I mentioned one concern that I had. I've got just financial records, personal documents and such. And
yeah, I mean, it's realistically just looking around your house to identify what would my heart be broken if it was ruined or broken or security from a security personal information perspective, and put it away, whether you lock it away. Some people have a lock on a door, like an office door, and they put all their important stuff in there and lock it, or a file cabinet or whatever. I think it's important to remember, having said that this is about exchanging homes. So people will expect to come into your home and see your life, like see the scratched cabinets and the couch that needs a little extra stuffing, and kids' pictures on the fridge.
As it is, yeah.
So it's not, when you put stuff away, it really is the stuff that it's just like irreplaceable, or it's confidential, or whatever. So for us, it's like a filing cabinet, and pretty much everything else is like whatever, wide open.
And when I stay at timeshares, for example, I usually I wash my dishes, don't make the beds, but well, I'll generally clean things to a certain standard. What's the etiquette in terms of when you're
Yeah.
staying in someone's house?
Again, it's this concept. This is not an Airbnb. Nobody's making money on this.
Yeah.
They're having an experience, and you're in their home. They have trusted you with their home. So the etiquette is, it's actually a rule that you leave the house the way you found it.
Yes. Yes.
So you would, and typically most folks will leave a little note. Here's what that looks like for me. Like, please clean the bathrooms. I've got an extra set of sheets in the cupboard. Can you please, pull your sheets off the bed? Most people will guide you with what their expectation is, but yeah, it's respect. Somebody else's home. You leave it as you found it.
Yeah. Well, you've got a little catalog. It reminded me of some Airbnbs that I've stayed in as well, and a nice little welcome note explaining how to use various things, whether it's the television and other appliances in the house, and then just basically walking through things to do, and then getting into all the cleanliness and all that sort of stuff. So I could tell that there was a lot of thought and consideration in terms of.
Well, after years of doing this, each time I travel somewhere, I see something different, or I learn something different, or I have a different. One of the early exchanges we did was in Switzerland, and the folks didn't speak any English, and they had a maid who was French.
Oh.
And we were lost, and the coffee maker, big fancy coffee maker, the digital screen was either French or German.
Oh.
So we couldn't figure out how to make coffee. So it was that moment I thought, somebody might come to Canada and not know how to use the dishwasher. So I just keep all of my manuals and I leave them out for folks. So.
Some IKEA style instructions, pictures, visuals.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Hey, that's great. And then some scenarios like with Airbnb, something that's been a nuance is you get a call from the host shortly before you're about to go, and then it's canceled. That can happen when people are renting out their house. I could see something happen, something unexpected. If you're renting out your house, can you make changes, or are you locked in like a contract?
When you join and you commit to an exchange, there is a series of guarantees that come along with that. So the guarantees are around things like last minute cancellations.
Yeah.
Because life happens, right? This is not moneymaker. People live in their lives. And we had somebody who a few weeks before we were supposed to go to their place was diagnosed with cancer. And they just were not in a space where they could. And so they canceled. So the guarantee gave us our points back. Or if something gets broken, and the home exchange company will help you sort that through, because this is a community and we're all members. Their expectation is you work it out with the other family.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Hey, I broke that. Can you get a quote and I'll just e-transfer you the cash, or but sometimes life happens and that maybe doesn't work the way you expect. They do have a guarantee to support that as well.
Understood.
So there's a few other guarantees, but it's really just adds that level of reassurance.
Well, Deanna, you are a wealth of practical insight, having done a lot of this. So thanks for sharing your stories and experiences. I really enjoyed that little home exchange information session that you had. And I know there's a lot of people watching this that'll find this very, very insightful. And when I look at costs of travel, really, I hear a lot of hype about saving money on flights, points and miles, but I don't hear enough about accommodations. And I think that's where a lot of excitement should be. That's really where cost is. And something I remember, you mentioned this place in Italy you went to that had the lemon trees and all that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you get to go to these places that you probably never, we stay in the countryside and you drive in and there's you're living in an olive grove and a lemon grove.
Love it.
What chance? Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, with that, thank you very much. If anyone watching would like to sign up to Home Exchange, we do have a special bonus for you. Just click the link below and you'll get 1,550 guest points, which, depending on how you use them, can get you upwards of about 5 nights right off the bat. That way you don't necessarily have to build up points by hosting before you can start doing it yourself. So with that, have a great summer. We're just getting into the peak summer travel season here. Maybe one last question. Do you have your next home exchange booked right now?
Yeah, we do. We have a week in Whitehorse, Yukon, and we're just working on a Thanksgiving weekend getaway in the mountains.
Wow, 2 coming up in the next few months. Wonderful. Well, enjoy that, and happy travels. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Russ.